charger off of it and see what happens, see how far we go.
Okay. All right, so the way I teach throwing, there's 3 categories of forms. There's the bowl, there's the cylinder, and then there's the plate or platter. And the techniques that I'm showing you here are the same for every plate or platter that I throw, whether I'm throwing a little 2-pound dessert plate or whether I'm throwing a 25-pound platter. It's all basically the same. You get it centered. So here we are.
How many pounds is that?
This is a little over 3 pounds. If you are going to throw plates, go into the clay room, find the softest possible clay. I mean, so soft that when you put your hand on it, it sticks to your hand. You know, it's just like almost dew. Okay, so here we are. This is centered. We're going to make a plate. In order for us to make a plate, we need a wide base, right? You can't just open this and spread it out to make a plate. That won't work. People have tried it. So you have to, now, in other schools of ceramics, they will tell you to just get on top of this with 2 fists and push down and kind of what I, basically submission hold. Or get on top, and I saw a guy get on top. I saw a woman down in North Carolina who was throwing little dessert plates, and she would just squishing them. What I recommend you do is this, especially with over 2 pounds. You open it slightly, just slightly. Now, you take this opening to the side, just a little bit. And you take both hands, the base of the thumb on both hands, put that right on top of it, right on top of this roll, and just push it down. Once you've done that, the opening that you made disappears because you've lowered the shoulder. You can do this again. And each time you do this, the spreading part of the operation becomes more involved. So now we take this out a little bit, take it out to about there. So this could be called almost like a step-by-step low-impact spreading technique, rather than trying to get on top of the clay and squash that whole thing out. Now as we open it, you can see more of what this technique looks like. This is the same technique we're going to use for making the plate. Okay? We get in here, we make a little indentation. With our first or second finger, we take that little indentation and turn it into a wall and push that wall out. As we push that wall out, it wants to resist you, and what it wants to do is rise up into a taller wall and break off like a wave coming up on the beach. So in order to keep that from happening, you ride the top of that wave so that the clay continues to move laterally off to the side. Once you get, you don't want to take this wave all the way to the edge, because you do not want, when you're doing this operation, you don't want this side to fold over itself. You want it to spread. So you take it to about there, and then now this is a very friendly technique. As long as you pay attention, this piece will stay on center the whole time. So look closely what I'm doing. So what I'm doing here is my first finger is right up against this wall here that I created. The other three fingers are just coasting in behind, helping me keep this finger where I want it. They basically tell me where the surface is. My right hand is riding the top of this wall and keeping it from rising up. Okay, so now here we are. We are just around somewhere between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch thick, which is roughly where you want to stop with this technique as far as spreading. We're still going to use the same technique, but now what we're doing is excavating clay out from the center and parking it out here for now. Once you get going with this, I borrow a pin tool for a second. Once you get going with this, again, you're looking at this from the worst possible angle to figure out whether this is flat or not. You should take your pin tool and just check and make sure that you're roughly the same thickness. It will be uneven, but you should try and correct for that and make it as even as possible. Now this goes very quick with that really soft clay. Okay, so here we go. Okay, my eye tells me that I'm just about there. So your object, because we're making plates, you want this surface to be flat. If you wanted to get fancy, you could actually do a very shallow bowl using the same technique by bringing this up into a low curve. And then this goes into the bowl. We're making plates. Do somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, you're good. Okay, we're done here. If you do this technique and spread it out and you don't have any clay out here, it's because you forgot about stopping and leaving the clay parked here. You can always regain that clay just by pushing this disc back in. You see what I'm doing right now? I'm going to take this lump of clay, I'm going to squeeze it. So, what we have here is the center of the plate is finished. Right? All we have to do is make the rim. So you take that roll of clay, you squeeze it together and make it into a low, short wall, and then you pull it up to make the rim. When you pull this clay up to make a rim, now, in your mind, you know this is going to be a plate, but do not pull this rim in the direction of where the plate rim is going to be, because if you try and pull this out in any direction, centrifugal force will take over, and the whole thing will just spin out of control. So when you go to pull the rim, pull it up. And you can leave it a little beefy because at the next stage, the rim is going to thin out, because we're going to lay that rim down. Okay, so here's the point of no return.
You're gonna wire? Are you gonna wire?
Yeah, we're gonna wire.
Okay.
Okay, so this is almost ready to be a plate. Come in here, we make sure that everything is just the way we want it. The inside of the plate doesn't have any standing water in it, doesn't have any problems in it. I always wire at this point because once the rim is down, it's hard for me to wire cleanly without digging up the edge. So I wire right now. So once I lay this down, I'm going to stop the wheel. If when you're doing this operation, and the first time you do it, you may not do it correctly. If the rim drops on you, basically fails and drops, don't panic. Number one. Number two, don't try and bring it back up again. You will not be able to get it back up. What you can do, if it drops, is pick it up gently, go put it in front of the fan for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, come back, put it back on the wheel, get your rim underneath that rim, get rib underneath that rim and bring it back up again and it'll stay in place. Okay, so here we go. We're going to What you have to understand about clay is that it's very strong the first time you bend it. All those little platelets holding on. The more you mess with it, the weaker the connections become between the platelets and eventually they fail. Okay? All right, so if you want to try this, find the softest clay you can, work with 2 pounds, and make a plate that is as wide as your thumb to your little finger. That's how you get started on this.
Start with just 2 pounds?
Just 2 pounds, make a little lunch plate. A little dessert plate.
So the plate that you just throw is finished, don't go no further?
Well, it's going to be trimmed, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know you have to trim it, but that's it, that's a wrap.
Huh?
That's it, that's a wrap.
That's it, it's a wrap.